Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unified Purpose, the place where we share inspiring tales of compassion, resilience, and community spirit. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's Partnership Coordinator, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Corrine Beaumont from Know Your Lemons. Thank you so much for joining me, Corrine. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Shannon. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so today we're going to start with a game. I thought this would be really great because your organization has a lot of lighthearted approaches to education. And so I thought this would be like something fun and hopefully positive.
Great.
Okay, beautiful. So this game is called When Life Gives You Lemons, which I think is... Okay, so I'm going to give you some scenarios and you are going to add a positive twist to the scenario. Does that sound good?
All right. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Okay. First one. You have to design a breast cancer awareness campaign, but the only image options that you have are fruits and vegetables. What is your move?
I'm going to use lemons as a visual metaphor for breasts because they look a lot alike, lemons and breasts.
They do. No, they definitely do. I think that was a perfect idea to have from the get-go. I should have expected that answer.
Like I've been there. That's real. Okay.
No, this is perfect. Okay. Next scenario, maybe a little harder. Okay. Someone gives you a lemon-scented candle as a gift, but it smells like onions. How do you spin it into a bestseller?
How do I spin it into a bestseller? We'd call it, no, I cooked today. And then you can light the candle, and then it makes it sound like your house smells like you were cooking.
Oh, so that's really smart.
Like cooked onion smell, and then you can be like cooking has like a double meaning. So like you're cooking today.
No, I kind of like that. It makes me kind of think of those. I don't know if you've ever seen these videos of like a stay-at-home mom doesn't feel like cooking, so she gets takeout, but she just puts it on, like she throws out all the boxes and
highlights all the boxes, like it's all plated up. Yeah,
it makes me think of that. It's like, okay, I give the illusion that I've cooked today.
Yeah. So this one like requires no cleanup and no dishes. You just light the candle, and then you're like, oh yeah, I already made and ate it. So
exactly. No, that's a good illusion to have. Yeah. Okay, next scenario. A competitor launches, which is crazy to have a competitor as a nonprofit, but let's just in theory, launches a Know Your Grapes campaign.
Uh-huh.
How do you respond?
I want to know what these grapes are. Like what are the grapes representing on my body? If you've got grapes on your body, they definitely have it checked out by a doctor because you shouldn't have grape anything.
Yeah, I think that maybe, I don't think you would be even opposed to this. I mean, like, if grapes are awareness for something as well, I'm sure that, you'd just be supportive of it.
Like eyeballs? Like, I'm just trying to think, like...
Maybe, like, tumors could be grapes?
No, your tumors?
I don't know. I didn't really have a vision for it. But I thought
definitely go to a doctor. If you see a grape something on you, go to the doctor.
Yes, 100%. This is part of the education.
My advice.
Okay, I have one last scenario for you. This one. Okay. You must swap lemons for a different symbol for breast health education. What do you choose and why?
Ooh.
It's hard because it's like the whole foundation.
And I actually went through like 42 different objects before lemons were the right thing. Grapes were one of them. But if you say melons, everyone thinks it's about size. And then so like, oh, well, I don't have large breasts. So then
so I'm not gonna have
Yeah. And then some fruits have like other characteristics that stand out that have nothing to do with breasts. So that's where it gets a little bit confusing. But in some parts of the world, we use green lemons, which look a lot like limes because lemons are green in some parts of the world. So I'll cheat and say limes.
Yeah, and that's maybe a little bit of a cop out, but I think I get it. No, and I found out that they had green lemons when my parents went to Aruba for their honeymoon, and they my stepdad had asked for a lemon in his drink, and he kept thinking it was lime. He was like, "Why?" And they had like a whole miscommunication because they did not speak like perfect English. So it was just a very funny situation, and that's how I found out that there are green lemons, which is very, very cool.
Yep. Most of Latin America is green lemons, and big parts of Africa.
It's very, very, a very interesting fun fact. I don't know why ours are yellow, but I do love the color, so I think it's okay. Well, okay, so you did great at the game, by the way. I had other scenarios, but I think that this was just a little fun way to start things. So thank you for participating. So first, I want you to tell me your vision behind Know Your Lemons, like the story behind it, so the audience can get a little whiff of, why you do what you do, and why this is impactful to you, why you think this is important, and everything in between.
Yeah. So I started this charity almost 10 years ago with my savings. As a single mom, I was teaching entrepreneurship at a university and decided to leave my job and start this nonprofit. And the reason for that was losing family and friends to breast cancer. So my background is I'm a graphic designer. And I came up with a visual way of explaining breast cancer symptoms and anatomy that makes it really approachable, easy to learn, and saves lives. So I designed this image that shows 12 lemons inside of an egg carton to show the 12 signs of breast cancer. And after people have seen this image, they've been diagnosed much earlier than they would have been otherwise, because they were able to recognize something on themselves, either when they saw it or they remember that image and years later they notice the breast change and go, oh, wait, like this is that lemons image that I saw. So I need to have it checked out. So we are a global breast cancer charity. We have over 1,200 volunteers in 75 countries. Our online campaign is in over 40 languages, and our app won the Best Health and Fitness App Award by the Webby Awards this year. So we beat Apple Fitness. So that's pretty exciting for our app. And our app will teach you how to self-exam. It does a risk assessment and helps you know when you should get screened and what types of screening tools are best for you according to your own risk factors. It'll send you monthly reminders to self-exam. And we are adding badges so you can earn your self-exam streak, and a badge for doing your risk assessment, and a badge for getting your mammogram done every year. So that's what we do. We are the only global charity 100% focused on early detection. And so we work with partners around the world. We have about 130 partners right now that provide patient support or guide people through treatment or those sorts of things. And what we do is we help educate people so that if they do get breast cancer, chances of them finding it earlier are increased because they know what to do, they know the symptoms, they're getting screened in the right way. And then if they're diagnosed, we connect them with one of our partners so that they can get ongoing support that they need. So we're here to bring all the breast cancer charities together. And we provide educational tools and training for people to go out and teach in their communities and be volunteers, or we partner with organizations. That's what we do, and it's really exciting.
This is absolutely incredible, especially where like connections are, it's just I feel, having spoken to so many nonprofits on this podcast, that a lot of nonprofits aren't as connected as I'd like to see, but they have like similar missions or adjacent missions that they could really help each other out if they were connected, which is a really lovely thing because I get to connect them. And but it's something that I don't hear very often, and a lot of nonprofits don't have or are looking for a lot of resources in which like they could even get from each other. So it's really wonderful that you're able to connect people in that space.
Yeah, we're really set up to promote collaboration over competition. And a nonprofit is a business like any other business. The difference is we don't have shareholders. Our shareholders are the people that we serve. And so we're still, in a way, we have, I guess, competitors that work in the same space. We're going after the same grants, like that sort of thing. And so what we have done is we really specialize that we're here to help educate, and we're going to make it available in as many languages as possible. We'll have an app, we'll have printed materials, we'll have online courses, like all of that stuff. And our partners are the people who are the boots on the ground. And so a lot of like breast cancer charities will start to add an educational component to what they're doing. So they start making their own materials and spending a lot of time and resources on developing that. And we're saying, actually, you can use ours. Like, that's what we want you to do. We want you to join with us and use our material. We don't want you to have to like go and create your own campaign and materials. We already have something that works really well for lots of audiences and lots of languages. So that's our position. We're not trying to be, the thing that's funding research and supporting patients during and after treatment and educating. Like, we are just focused on making really good educational tools and then connecting with other organizations and volunteers and individuals to make that education happen.
No, I love that idea, because it's also, you're making sure that you're not spreading yourself too thin and focusing on what's really important and helpful on your end that you know how to do, and then, but you're still not necessarily, like cutting it there. Whereas like someone does learn something really important, but then they have no resources or have no idea what to do from there. You still have connections with people to provide them with help moving forward, which is still a wonderful model to have, rather than, trying to do everything yourselves and not doing it efficiently. I think that that's where a lot of nonprofits could maybe benefit from, maybe, like honing their focus in on something, understanding that it is very hard to be able to do like every level of a problem.
Yeah. And it's tempting to have mission creep, because you'll have people coming to you saying, well, do you also offer this? And do you also do that?
Yeah. And it's sad to say no, but it's also, you can tell them, yes, here, not with us.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would love to get into, I'm sure that you get asked a lot, is the lemon thing. So you said that you looked at a bunch of different options. Was this before you created this graphic, or was it kind of considering after you had already created it? Or like, what's the inspiration behind having made this specific item so centripetal for your organization?
Yeah, so this actually started out as my master's in graphic design project. And then later on, I moved on to get a PhD in international communication for breast cancer, where I developed the campaign further and did a lot of testing and refining of it. But so it started off with me, as I was starting my master's degree in graphic design, I lost my grandmother to breast cancer. And she was actually the second grandmother that I lost to breast cancer. And at that point, I realized like I didn't know anything about breast health. And so I'm like, am I at an increased risk for breast cancer? Like, do grandmothers count? And like having a grandmother on each side of my family, that must be extra, right? And so, but there wasn't really any information that would like explain to like someone in their early 20s, like, okay, this is what you need to know. So I went to a cancer education library. And I said, okay, I'm in my early 20s. Like, I want to know like when I should start getting screened, and if I am at an increased risk for breast cancer, and like, what does the cancerous lump feel like? Like, everyone says like, look for a lump. Like, what does that mean? I said, well, we usually don't get your age coming in here. So they handed me like some pamphlets and some books and like lots of websites to look at. And as I was looking at all this stuff, I realized no one was just answering these basic things in one place. And like, no one was explaining what a lump felt like. Like, they're just like, look for a lump. And as a designer, I was looking at all this stuff going, well, no wonder I've never been interested in this before. Like, it's just not like an engaging way, like they were very like kind of sterile medical design, kind of stock photography things for the visuals, that sort of thing. So as a designer, I was looking at this going, you know, on this pamphlet, they've used the whole cover to show 4 women of different ethnicities smiling together, and none of this is teaching me anything. So I'm like, these visuals should be educational. Like, if you're going to spend the space on visuals, like, it should do something besides just decorate the page. So I was looking at stuff and everything was kind of decoration or illustrations that didn't really give you enough detail to understand like what the symptoms were. So they'd be like a breast dimple, and it would just be like a little line. And you're like, well, so like, what does that look like on a breast? So that's when I started kind of this journey of looking into, well, as a designer, like, could I solve this problem of making it easy for people to have answers to these questions before a breast problem shows up? And for me, it took 2 family members dying before I thought maybe I should look into this, because in school we talk about every part of the body except for breasts. Like, I know that if you take steroids, your testicles can shrink. Like, it's not really
Why
like,
do I know that?
very useful information, you know what I mean? But 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer in her lifetime, and we don't say anything about it. We don't say when mammograms start. We don't say what increases your risk for breast cancer. We don't say, here are the 12 symptoms and how to do self-exams. And so we really need to have a better way of approaching this, because, you know, breasts are associated with sex and cancer is associated with death. And when you have those 2 negative connotations with breast cancer, it means a lot of people avoid the topic, right? They're like, I just don't want to know, or it doesn't run in my family, so it doesn't apply to me, so I don't have to worry about this. But like 85% of people diagnosed with breast cancer have no family history of it. So this kind of assumption that we have of, well, if it's not in my family, like, if I get a mammogram, that's just because I'm being extra cautious. Actually, no, like, just being a woman and getting older are the biggest risk factors for breast cancer. So I started like working on some designs. So I started photographing jugs, cones, melons, because I was looking for this visual way to show a breast that wouldn't get censored. And I want something that would be pretty universal. Like, is someone going to see this and know exactly what that is in a different part of the world?
Mm-hmm.
So like, jugs actually look different in different parts of the world. Like, people have different containers for things, right? Cones might not be a euphemism in other parts of the world as well. It just might not translate, right?
Everything's a euphemism in the United States.
Yeah.
So,
and then, like, as I said earlier, like, melons are usually associated with size when you're making a comment about breasts. And they also have like these big like green stripes if it's a watermelon. Like, a cantaloupe has a lot of like texture on it. And so I just photographed 42 different objects. So I would just get kind of 2 things side by side. And I used that to illustrate myths of breast cancer that I had found. So I thought there'd be maybe 10, and then I found 42. So I was doing this like illustrated series of all these myths of breast cancer. And as I went through all those objects, each one got ruled out for a different reason. And then that's when I just one day went, actually, what about lemons? Like, they have a nipple, they have like pores like skin. And then if you cut it navel to navel, it looks a lot like breast anatomy with milk ducts and things like that. And so I was like, okay, that will work. And then I also shadowed at an imaging center. And so I got to watch people getting mammograms. I got to talk to the mammogram technician. She did one on me with just compression, not the x-ray. So I could know what it felt like and just kind of what that process was like. And so as I was talking to her, I was asking her like what a lump felt like. Is it like squishy? And she's like, no, it's usually hard like a nut. And when she said that, I was like, or like a lemon seed. And then the whole metaphor came together. So it was like a process of doing the research, exploring, looking at lots of different options, and having that specific goal in mind of like, I want this to be universal, that can work for lots of different people and places, and something that's going to be friendly and familiar, so that when people see it, they go, oh, okay, I see what you're doing here. Like, these aren't lemons, like these are actually breasts. So I designed that for my master's degree, as a 3-year master's degree. And then when I was done with that, I thought, I think this project could go further. So then I moved to the UK and did a PhD there, and did a lot of research and studying how you research these things and test it with different audiences. And so I tested it in Colombia and Japan and Europe and Africa and the Middle East. And the responses I got back were, yeah, this makes sense to me and my culture. And I could see this being a campaign where I live. So that was really positive. And then I decided to leave my job as an entrepreneurship professor. And about 9 months later, there was a game going around Facebook. And it was, put a heart on someone's wall, but don't tell them why. And they're like, when they ask you, tell them it's for breast cancer awareness. So this game was going around where people were just putting hearts on people's wall. And there was a woman who had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and she's getting lots of hearts. And she's like, what's this for? And they're like, it's for breast cancer awareness. And she's like, this doesn't do anything for breast cancer awareness. Like you're not
Okay.
anything. And so what she did is she got my image online of the 12 signs of breast cancer, and she posted that and decided to make it public. And she just did this kind of public letter to her family and friends saying, a lot of you have been asking why I'm not posting hearts back. And she's like, it's because we need to be sharing this. This is like what helped me understand that, like, I had a symptom of breast cancer that wasn't a lump. And that got 64,000 shares. It went like viral, and every news media like picked it up. And so, 1 week it would be trending in Peru, and another in Japan. And then I'd get calls from Poland, and I had a German film crew come to my house and do a story on it. And, it was in BBC News and CNN. And so it got a lot of coverage. And that's when we started to get known for the work that we're doing. Except a lot of people just thought we were like a marketing agency that came up with an image. They didn't know that we were a charity that had like training and programs and classes and like peers and stuff like that. So we're kind of the victim of, everyone loves our campaign so much they don't realize that we're a charity as well. So and then we developed the app and like more tools. So that's like the journey of how things came into being, and why I started it, and why I was so passionate about making sure people were educated and using design as the way to make that approachable.
No, I love it, because design is something that is so incredibly powerful. And I think that making something uncomfortable approachable is a really hard thing to do. And especially with spreading awareness on something that is a very sensitive topic, in order to make a design that has that like widely accepted and also be educational in just one image is like comprehensively just incredible. Like I learned way more about breast cancer just looking at your website than I ever have my whole life. And that is really saying something unfortunate about our education system, possibly, but also just saying something about how successful this has, like, you have been in creating education around this topic, solely focused off of just that image, but it became so much more. I'm very curious about, like, when did you notice a specific problem with, like, the discomfort with like looking into possible signs of breast cancer, and like how did you get to this this place where you discovered that like a lighthearted approach would be the best way to go about this?
I think part of that is just my personality. I have a sense of humor. And so, growing up, I was really embarrassed to talk about things like that. Like I could hardly say the word bra, like when I was a teenager. And so I think just kind of knowing that I had that like own experience of like being embarrassed to talk about it and things like that. I just thought, humor is such a great way to disarm people and make something like easier to understand and memorable and more approachable. So there's a little bit of humor in using lemons for breasts, but also like sticking them in an egg carton. Why is it done that way? Like you don't put eggs in an egg. I mean, yeah, you don't put eggs in an egg carton. And part of that was just because I wanted people to have the word dozen in their mind as soon as they saw it. So when they saw a carton of eggs, they don't have to count out each lemon to know how many symptoms are there. They'll just know at a glance, like, oh, there's 12. So that's where that came from, is I wanted people to just at a glance know that there were 12. When you put it in an egg carton, people know exactly, oh, there's a dozen signs of breast cancer.
Things to consider, because it's something that is not like something that I think has always been taught to us, I think as women or as young girls, is to look for lumps, but none of these other things are ever, I think, addressed often in the educational system, as far as I'm aware, is my own experience.
And what's confusing is breasts are lumpy because there's breast anatomy inside, right? And so we don't learn about breast anatomy in school. Like we don't know what's in there. Again, like we've seen what the inside of a testicle looks like on like graphs and stuff in a textbook, right? But we do not know what the inside of a breast is. And when we think about it, breasts are a pretty incredible body part. Like they can like turn, I'm overgeneralizing this, but turn blood into milk. Like that's kind of a miracle, right? Like it can sustain life when a baby is small. Like all they need is breast milk, right? And so, and it like changes throughout your life, and it's something that you don't really have like when you're born, right? Like it's something that develops later on. But because breasts are so associated with sex, we kind of lose that wonder of what breasts really are, right? And because of that sexual layer that we put on breasts, then we don't really think about like breasts as like health, right? And so it's more of an object instead of like a tool, if that makes sense. And so being able to just appreciate our bodies and just think about, how amazing breasts are, but not like in a way that's completely dictated by, because they're sexy, right?
Yeah.
And like as women, we think far too much about like breast size or breast shape or like, those sorts of things. Like we're so focused on the aesthetics of it that we can forget how to like take care of it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I really love that you considered like the melon approach and kind of like shut it down, because I think there's also this misconception that I've at least heard growing up that like you can't have breast cancer if you don't have large breasts or you don't have like space for cancer. I don't know why that is like a misconception, but it's funny because it's like you can get cancer anywhere in the body, so it doesn't matter if you have space for it.
Yeah, and like to help kind of explain that. So the smallest size of a tumor about that you can see on a scan is like smaller than like a pencil eraser, and that is 10 million cancer cells altogether for just that tiny little dot, right? So if your breasts are bigger than a very tiny pencil eraser, right? Like cancer is small. Cancer is a cell, right?
Yeah.
And so this idea that like breast size has something to do with it. No, everyone who has breasts should know how to take care of them. And it's really tempting to say, oh, well, I don't have a family history, or I've got small breasts, or I eat well, or I exercise a lot. Therefore, I'm protected against having to think about this thing. But it'd be great if that's how life worked, but that's cancer happens to healthy people. Cancer is just a very big general term for cells that have run amok.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of ways cells can go haywire. So
I completely agree, and I also love that you mentioned about the like the lump, because another thing that I never learned about is that's how it's supposed to feel. That it's supposed to feel like a nut. No one ever told me that growing up either. There's so many things that I'm just learning from this call that I did not know about, which is really sad. But something that I do want to ask out of curiosity, and like maybe it would be even helpful for anyone else, maybe looking into creating a nonprofit, is and I think that this does happen, but it's almost unusual, is you started this nonprofit with like very little money in a very specific situation with very little staff. Like, how did this happen? Like what do you put as like a testament to the success and like virality of the campaign that you launched?
yeah, I mean, it really comes down to good design. When you have good design, people want to engage with it. They want to share it. Like design is everything. We've been able to measure that we've reached, at least in English, 2 billion people online with our campaign. We have put no money towards advertising for this. This is just people saying, this is important information to know. I'm going to be sharing this as well. Or press picking up stories and sharing the image and that sort of thing. So it's really down to the design. And, we've got volunteers in 75 countries and, 130 partners. Like, we're growing really quickly. And we're still just a full-time staff of 3 people. And then we have part-time and contracting people on top of that for like different pieces of the work that we do. And so we're, relatively speaking, we're a staff of less than 10 people working on this with this huge impact. And so, as a nonprofit, there are a couple of different ways that people will start one. One will be that they come from money and they want to, do something charitable with the funds that they have. So they start an organization that's close to their heart, and that's how a lot of the funding happens. Another one is somebody who has no money, like me, and you start a charity, and you don't really know what you're doing at first, and you learn as you go. And that's true for most things. Like, we think you need to have like acquire all the knowledge first and then start, but actually learning as you go and talking to people and getting advice
does work.
Yeah, that works. And so being able to find where the funding is and the grants and that sort of thing, and looking for people to sponsor the cause that you have. We're still always looking at new ways. There's not just like an easy way where you're like, oh, this is where we get our money every year. It's always changing. So the landscape is about building relationships and anticipating how things are shifting and things like that. So finding good partners that understand your mission and want to support it, and developing things with them is really key.
Well, I think that is really important. I think expanding your network and, understanding other people that care about the same causes and issues that you do is really important and special. And I think community is one of the ways in which anyone can reach success, just by, reaching out and being able to make connections with people that, matter and can help, and you can help them too. And I think that's a great place to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I have to stop here only because we're a little over time, but I genuinely think this was such a good conversation to have. I am so fascinated by your organization and also think it's so incredibly helpful just for me specifically, but so many of the people that I know that it is really, really disheartening to see how much information is not provided growing up for this issue. But I am so happy that you're working towards educating people on this cause and this issue, because it is something that clearly needs some work in the educational system.
Yeah, definitely. And like the great news is like all anybody has to do is download the app. They can go to the app store, download Know Your Lemons, and they'll be able to learn everything that they need to know. Like you'll learn how to do a self-exam. You'll understand what a normal lump feels like versus something that's more suspicious. You'll be able to look at this image that we've been talking about and like learn each of the 12 signs of breast cancer. It will guide you on if you notice a breast change and how to talk to your doctor and what tests you can expect to be ordered for you. And it will do that risk assessment. So you know, like when to get screened, if you should look into genetic testing, like all kinds of things like that. And so, you know, you don't have to wonder anymore. Just like download the app and then we'll just send you a monthly reminder to do that self-exam. And then you can earn your badge each month for taking care of yourself. It's that easy, and it works for everybody, and it's in a variety of languages. So you know, we don't have a marketing budget. We just have word of mouth. So people trying out the app, if they like it, like share it with the people that they know and love. And, you know, especially ahead of Breast Cancer Awareness Month coming up in October, it's really good to, it's a good way to get involved and like do something proactive.
No, I definitely will be sharing this with people, seeing as I am learning so much from just speaking with you and having done research on you, that I'm very thankful for this opportunity, not only to get to learn more about you and your work and why it's important to you, but also selfishly having known more about my own health and how to keep updated with it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. It's what I love doing.
I really appreciate that. And thank you again so much for joining me today. I hope that our audience members can also, check you guys out and, educate themselves or their friends or whatever it may be on this cause, because I think it's really, really important.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Thank you again. And thank you everyone for listening. I hope you can check out Corrine and Know Your Lemons in the description. And thank you for joining us. Bye, guys.